Funding for the Maddy Report is made possible by grants from BNSF Railway, moving our economy for 160 years. Harris Ranch Resort, providing Western hospitality and award-winning cuisine. The Wonderful Company, committed to growing a better world. Comcast, connecting people to the moments and experiences that matter most. Producers Dairy, nourishing one life at a time. The Spencer Family, and Fresno State Associated Students Incorporated, students serving students. The Maddy Report is also made possible thanks to contributions from Cook Land Company, E&J Gallo Winery, the Fresno Association of Realtors, and California Manufacturing and Engineering Company. From the Maddy Institute, the Public Policy Institute for the Valley's 4 public universities, this is the Maddy Report with Executive Director of the Maddy Institute, Blake Zante.
Welcome to the Maddy Report. I'm Blake Zante, Executive Director of the Maddy Institute. Today we're sitting down to discuss all things Madera County with Supervisor Bobby Macaulay, who represents the 5th Supervisorial District in Madera County. Supervisor, thanks for coming on the Maddy Report today. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Supervisor, you were elected in 2022 to the Board of Supervisors. Tell us about your background and how you first entered public service.
You know, I really kind of stumbled upon it actually, Blake. So I really got my feet wet with community service work, working with the Mountain Area Youth Organization, which my grandfather started. From there, I had the opportunity to go work for the previous county supervisor, Supervisor Tom Wheeler. There, I really got my feet wet in county business and was able to kind of learn the ropes before eventually getting elected in 2022.
Well, that's great. And, your district is heavily rural. You represent communities like Oakhurst, Coarse Gold, North Fork, Bass Lake, and several others. What are some of the biggest challenges, generally speaking? We'll dive into specifics later, facing Eastern Madera County at the moment. What are some issues that you're working on?
You know, rural California is really a tough nut to crack. As we see more services being developed in the urban areas, it's oftentimes a battle or a fight in order to get the resources that we need up in the eastern portions of the county. Beyond that, we have a lot of concerns around wildfire, homeowners insurance, water quality, the reliability of water. All these things are important for folks in the eastern Madera County.
That's great. And you also serve on a number of boards and committees as supervisor. Folks think that you're just showing up only to Board of Supervisors meetings, but supervisors generally serve on a lot of other committees and boards as well. So could you talk a little bit about what are those boards and committees, and how do those responsibilities interact with not only your district, but your role as a supervisor?
Yeah, I've got a real difficult time saying no sometimes, so I do find myself on more and more boards and committees as I get further along in my term. So I sit on the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District, where we really try to work on issues around wildfire. I know it may seem counterintuitive, but really oftentimes what we see is restrictions in EPA policies that make it difficult for us to properly manage the land. So we work with our federal legislators as well as our local team to try to address some of those issues, promote more prescribed burning and better management of our forests. In addition to that, I'm on our Madera County Transportation Commission, the San Joaquin River Conservancy, which sits along the southern part of my district. We've been able to open up 3 parks this year, one of them in Madera County, 2 of them in Fresno, and we're looking to expand upon some of those efforts. I'm also a board member for the Yosemite Sequoia Resource Conservation and Development Council, which is a mouthful, but they do some really important work in our mountain communities, managing our Firewise Madera program, as well as working with the Sierra National Forest to mitigate the risk of future wildfire.
That's great. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back after this. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. Supervisor, let's talk more specifically about some of the issues affecting your district. You did talk about it briefly, but I want to get a little bit more in depth. Something you've been focused on is the management of private and public lands. Eastern Madera County is certainly a beautiful place, lots of public land, encompassing parts of Yosemite and other natural wonders as well. What are some initiatives that you're working on right now to address the management of private and public lands in your district?
Sure, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. People love to come visit us up in Eastern Madera County, and so it's really important that we, make good efforts to manage the lands that people want to go visit and recreate on. So we're doing a number of initiatives right now. One that I'm pretty excited about is what we call our Connecting Yosemite Communities. Essentially what we're looking to do is develop a master trails plan for Madera County, in which we're connecting all of the communities through bike paths and trails and walking paths and hiking paths, and then really extending that over into the other counties and national parks and Forest Service lands. We're also working on some landscape level land management projects. So the Sierra Nevada Conservancy has really developed kind of a model for how we want to develop these projects in collaboration with other stakeholders. And so through Yosemite Sequoia Resource Conservation and Development Council, we're developing a forest-wide plan that includes both public and private lands to try to reduce the risk of wildfire. Because what we know is, if we're not doing a good job managing our lands, eventually fire will come. And so when it does, we want to be as best prepared as we can to help mitigate, any losses to public property or public life. So those are just a couple of things we're doing, but there's always more that can be done. So, that's one thing I've learned since getting elected is there's no shortage of work.
And certainly a timely subject right now. And something else you've been focused on, shifting gears a little bit, public safety. Can you discuss some of the recent initiatives around public safety and maybe Madera County's public safety needs? What are some things that Madera County is working on to tackle these challenges?
Yeah, for me in the eastern portions of the county, when we talk about public safety, obviously the sheriff's office is important, and we do a great job supporting our sheriff's office with the equipment they need to get the job done. But my residents are really concerned about emergency medical services as well as fire suppression services. And so that's where I spend a lot of my time working. Really excited. Next month, we're actually going to be opening up a new fire station in North Fork. We'll staff that in partnership with CAL FIRE. It was actually one of my campaign promises I made to the community that we would get that done, and I'm proud to say we are getting it done. And next month, we're going to have a great ribbon cutting ceremony in order to celebrate that. We're also working to diversify our paid call firefighter program by creating more opportunities for people to get involved. So now we can actually have different classifications, is what we call it at the county. So you can be a paid call firefighter and you can just do medical services. You can be a support PCF, or you can be a full-fledged paid call firefighter that is almost the equivalent of a CAL FIRE firefighter. So those are some great initiatives, but there's obviously, as I said before, no shortage of work. So we're going to keep, trying to turn that dial and make sure that we can address those issues.
Well, you talked about, steering those resources to Eastern Madera County to get that fire station open. And it kind of brings up the point to my next question, which is, the Foothill and Mountain Communities. We talk about the Central Valley a lot, but often those communities, while the Central Valley is certainly overlooked, those communities are even more overlooked, and we forget about them. So, can you talk about maybe what do you hear from folks in your district the most, and what are some ways that you're working as a representative to be able to include the Foothill and Mountain Communities more into that greater discussion around Central California needs?
Yeah, I've got about 17 individual communities in my district, and I can tell you that each one of them thinks they're not getting a fair shake, which, in a lot of ways, what it really comes down to is helping them understand how their services are provided, how their tax dollars are working for them. So having good conversations with them about how, the Board of Supervisors spends approximately 76% of our discretionary dollars on public safety. So when people understand that, hey, we've got a lot of money that's going to support our fire stations, we've got a lot of money going to support the sheriff and the DEA, it tends to kind of help them connect the dots. Beyond that, we've actually got some great initiatives that we've been able to put in place over the last year and a half to better support communities in Eastern Madera County. In particular, we were able to support our Eastern Madera County Foundation with some ARPA dollars, which has allowed us to create a maintenance program for a lot of our nonprofits that have traditionally self-funded. So helping to expand these services and educate folks is really the best way for me to help people understand that they are getting somewhat of a fair shake, right?
Great. Thank you. We'll be right back after this break. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back to the Maddy Report. Supervisor Macaulay, housing and homelessness have also been issues that you've been focused on in your district and during your tenure. What are some ways that Madera County is building affordable housing, and how does the county identify where it's going to go, especially in places like your district?
Well, affordable housing is a pretty complex issue. We can work to capture state resources and federal resources to build more housing, but from a market standpoint, we want to make sure that the cost of housing to develop more housing, can be mitigated to the best of our ability. So one thing that I'm really proud about in Madera County is we've been able to freeze impact fees on small builds. So if someone wants to go up and build a new house up in Eastern Madera County or Madera County at whole, we've kept those impact fees low relative to the larger developments that are going on in the east or in the southern part of the county, Tesoro Viejo and Riverstone. So we feel that promoting that growth is going to be beneficial for the community, because we do recognize that we are in a housing crisis, and I feel it personally. My residents feel it, and I get lots of calls from folks, with concerns over whether or not they're going to be able to continue living in the eastern portions of the county. So anything we can do to address those costs, lower the cost of living, I feel is definitely something we want to prioritize.
Transportation as well is a big issue, especially in your district. And Highway 41 is a major corridor, runs right through your district, and is a major transportation route for commuters, residents, and even tourists as well who want to get up to your district. Are there any planned improvements on Highway 41, given there is a lot of development going on in Madera County at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of projects we're working on 41. In particular, we're doing a widening project, which will extend from the Fresno-Madera border all the way up to Avenue 15. And the county hopes to break ground on that in fourth quarter of this year. If we're not able to get it done fourth quarter of this year, we'll certainly get it started first quarter of next year. But understanding that transportation is a pretty complex issue, it's not just about 41. It's about how you can pull traffic off of 41. So actually, right now we're in construction on what we call Rio Mesa Boulevard, which will extend from Avenue 12 to Tesoro Viejo. So now, once that's completed, folks that live in Tesoro Viejo will no longer have to go on to 41 unless they want to turn south onto Fresno, or if they want to go up Avenue 12 and hit the 99. In addition, we'll be starting construction on Avenue 12 expansion, I believe the second quarter of this year. So there's a lot of road projects going on down in the valley, but we want to make sure that we're taking care of folks up in the eastern portions of the county as well. So we're in the middle of a robust mobility study for the Oakhurst area, which will be looking at how we can improve the mobility, both active transportation as well as mobile transportation. And then lastly, we recognize that 41 is a evacuation route, worst case scenario. And so we're working with Caltrans to see how we can make that evacuation route safer, particularly on Deadwood, which, if you're familiar with the area, is a two-lane road. But we'd like to see some wider shoulders, so if there's any issues that occur in evacuation, we have a better opportunity to get out safely.
And you mentioned, real quickly, Tesoro Viejo and some of those developments that are occurring and which sort of driving a lot of this expansion and road projects. How are these new developments changing Madera County, and is it a good thing for the county?
I personally think it's a good thing. My boss always used to say, if you're not growing, you're dying on the vine. And so it's important that we have responsible growth in the Madera County. And I feel like we've done a good job accomplishing that through these planned developments. In fact, both developments, both Riverstone and Tesoro Viejo, were awarded for their efforts on their planned development. And so it's really important that those developments pay their way, which they are. So we talked about the 41 expansion, Rio Mesa Boulevard. Those projects are being paid for almost entirely by the developments. We are supplementing with some federal and state funds, but we believe they need to pay their way. So,
great, thank you. We're going to go to one more quick break, and then we'll be right back after this. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back to the Maddy Report. Supervisor, thanks again for joining us. We've talked about a lot of issues today. Another thing I wanted to bring up is economic development. And these are more fun questions about Madera County, but what are some of the biggest economic drivers in eastern Madera County?
Well, in eastern Madera County, there's no doubt that tourism is our biggest economic driver. In fact, if you go up there during the summertime, you're going to see a much different community than you would in the winter or fall months when we have less visitation. So one of the things we're really looking to do is figure out how we can grow visitation during those shoulder seasons. We think we can accomplish some of this through what we referenced before with our mobility study, making it a more attractive place to come visit. Things like our Connecting Yosemite Trails program as well, which creates more recreation opportunities for visitors. But it is a complex issue, and understanding how and why people visit is important. And so we partner very closely with our Visit Yosemite Madera County Visitors Bureau, because that's what they do, right? They work on outreach to tourists and trying to get people to come stay with us for an extended period of time, because that again is our biggest economic driver.
What are some of the biggest tourism destinations in eastern Madera County? Maybe folks watching this program might live locally, but don't have the chance to get up there as much. It's a pretty short drive, at least about an hour from the Fresno area. But what are some of the biggest areas or best areas to visit in eastern Madera County? And what are some areas that you enjoy visiting as well?
Sure. Yeah, Bass Lake, without a doubt, is one of the most popular places to visit in Madera County. So we have a lot of tourists coming up to visit Bass Lake, stay there and play. But I myself, I really enjoy going up into the Sierra National Forest. I find that it's a little less crowded than Yosemite, which is beautiful. But I find that the Sierra National Forest is one of the best places to go out and hike or fish or ride a bike or do some equestrian activities. So we get a lot of people going up to visit the Sierra National Forest, and working with Forest Service to ensure those lands are well maintained is something that I'm always engaged in.
And lastly, how can people contact the Board of Supervisors or engage with your office? I mean, what are some ways that folks, maybe they're an Eastern Madera County resident or a Madera County resident watching this program, how can they reach out to their representatives?
Sure. Well, I try to keep an open door policy, so I do pass my cell phone number out to a lot of folks. Sometimes I get some late calls at night, but that's okay. That's why I'm here, is to, hear the people that have concerns and, try to address those concerns as best I can. But we've got a new office up in Oakhurst, actually. We just opened it last year, so I'm very excited about that. It presents an opportunity for people to come and sit down and engage with me in Oakhurst, and rather than having to travel down to Madera. So, if you drive past the office, you're probably going to see my truck parked out front, which is a good sign that you can come on in and we can have a good conversation.
That's great. Well, Supervisor Macaulay, thank you for joining the Maddy Report
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you
really
for having me.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning into the Maddy Report. To learn more about the Maddy Institute, visit maddyinstitute.com. What makes a community thrive? How do we bridge the gap between government and policy and the people it impacts? The Maddy Institute was founded to answer questions like these, to create a link between government and the citizens it serves, and to inspire a new generation of leaders dedicated to public service. In 1999, the California legislature unanimously established the Maddy Institute in honor of former California State Senator Kenneth L. Maddy. Senator Maddy was widely respected for his commitment to bipartisan solutions and his dedication to the people of California's Central Valley. Known for his ability to work across the aisle, Senator Maddy believed that effective government begins with respectful dialogue, evidence-based policy, and a commitment to the common good. Today, the Maddy Institute continues his legacy. Our mission is threefold. 1, to promote more effective and inclusive government. 2, to encourage civic engagement. And 3, to conduct research on key issues impacting the Central Valley. Through these efforts, we aim to educate, inspire, and empower the next generation of public servants and community leaders. One of the most impactful ways we fulfill this mission is through our internship programs. Each year, the Maddy Institute provides opportunities for students from the Central Valley to work in legislative offices, both in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., as well as local government agencies. These internships give students real-world experience in policymaking, allow them to see government in action, and help them build the skills they need to make a difference in their communities. But the Maddy Institute isn't just for students. Through our civic engagement programs, we create opportunities for everyone to participate in the political process. From community forums to workshops, we bring people together to discuss important issues facing the Central Valley, like water management, air quality, economic development, and education. These events foster open dialogue, allowing citizens to engage directly with policymakers, experts, and others, creating a stronger and more informed community. And to ensure the public stays informed, the Maddy Institute produces the Maddy Report, a weekly public affairs broadcast that covers the latest issues impacting California. Each episode features interviews with lawmakers, journalists, and subject matter experts, providing insights and analysis on topics that matter to our region. Whether it's understanding new legislation or exploring solutions to local challenges, the Maddy Report is a trusted source of information for those who want to stay engaged. At the heart of everything we do is a belief that good governance requires an informed and engaged public. From nurturing young leaders to fostering dialogue, the Maddy Institute is dedicated to creating a future where the people of the Central Valley can thrive. Join us as we continue Senator Maddy's legacy. Together, we can build a brighter future, one informed and engaged citizen at a time. The views expressed in the Maddy Report are those of the individuals participating in the program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Maddy Institute. If you'd like to share your thoughts about today's episode of the Maddy Report, please visit our website at maddyinstitute.com.